everyone, my name is Ruth and I'm from Peru.
Hello everyone, I'm Sani and I'm from Northern India.
And this video is to tell you our story about how we met. Mostly because I have a page or a blog called Cultural Clash India-Peru, and I made a short video a few days ago asking what you thought would be better for the first video. How I met my husband, or about the wedding, the ceremony, and those things, and well, you preferred that I first tell you how I met my husband, so let's get started now.
Well, it was the 12th of... Hey! It was already July 12th, 2016. It was my younger brother's birthday. And after the celebration, I was on Facebook and I saw the profile of the most beautiful girl in the world and I loved it. And I added her, I sent her a friend request.
At that moment I was working, it was daytime for me, it was nighttime for him. And I got a request, I saw who it was, I thought he was handsome. And I added him, I accepted his request. And a few minutes later he wrote to me in Spanish and said, "How are you? How's it going?" and things like that. And I, being curious, asked him if he was using a translator. And no.
Yes, he wasn't using a translator because I knew a little Spanish and I was learning, and I did tell him no, I wasn't using a translator. Because I study tourism, that's why I also study foreign languages.
Then we started talking more and he told me, at first yes.
I told her that I saw a long-term relationship with her, that this relationship would last a long time, but she didn't believe me. She thought it wouldn't.
Of course I didn't tell her at that moment, but I did think that it was a long-distance relationship. Very few of them work out, and I didn't think mine would, that it would work out. But his gestures, the way he was with me and all of that made me fall in love with him little by little, and I loved it. I loved that the next day, on the 13th, he wrote me a letter in his own handwriting, took a picture of it and sent it to me, and I loved that. Because there aren't guys who write letters anymore, there are very few. And I'm going to show you, let's see, a notebook. This is the notebook where she wrote the first letter. It was on the 13th. On July 13th?
That's 7.
Just in case, from 2016. And that was the first letter, then the 14th, the 15th, and so on every day. He practically wrote me a letter every day, and I thought it was a very sweet gesture from him. Did he know how to make me fall in love?
Yes, because I was already in love with her, so she didn't have to try very hard. But I did. I really did, because every day I felt inspired to write to her. We were so far apart, and I didn't know how to earn her trust and her love. Because we couldn't go out like any normal couple, you know. Go out, get to know each other more, have dates. That was complicated. And it was the only way I could show her how much I loved her.
Yes, that's how it was too. This notebook is a different one. She bought this one after the first one was finished, because she had filled all the pages with letters. And well, here she kept writing more letters, and they were very beautiful details. I really liked that about him, that he was very thoughtful. Even though we were far apart, he knew how to win my heart. But not everything was perfect, not everything was beautiful in the relationship, because every long-distance relationship has its ups and downs. I had to travel to Cusco because I wanted to work on my own. I wanted to visit my grandmother. I'm from Cusco and I have family there. But I found a job thanks to a cousin who works in Machu Picchu, so I started working in Machu Picchu. That's when things got difficult between us, since sometimes I didn't have signal because of the altitude. I didn't have time. Mostly I wanted to talk to him, but there were problems at work. I had a pretty complicated schedule. And I don't know, it was pretty hard for us to have the same communication as before, because before we used to talk on calls on WhatsApp, 3 hours, 4 hours, something that wasn't possible in Cusco. It was only 15 minutes and the relationship started to wear out.
Yes, that happened because I had a very complicated schedule and I couldn't sleep well, I couldn't eat well, and I had dark circles. I looked tired all the time.
I have them. Another problem was also the family issue, imagined by his family, because his family is Hindu. And they didn't accept the idea of their eldest son marrying a foreigner.
Yes, they had many doubts about her character. What was she like? Because what they thought was that she would be like the women they see in Hollywood movies, who wear mini skirts and all that, Hollywood style. That's what they thought, and that's what they told me. My mom said to me, "But how can you believe that she can respect our culture? And how can you assure me she won't wear a mini skirt?"
I didn't even wear miniskirts in Peru. I didn't like them.
Yes, but they didn't know her. That's why they had a bad impression of her. And they said, what if she doesn't respect our customs and doesn't respect the family, the relatives, the elders? Because here it's a bit complicated.
In Latin America, as you know, if something or a relationship doesn't work, you know what? Goodbye. They get divorced, they separate, and that's it. And that's not something that's well regarded for a family in the world, and that's what her parents didn't want. For him, no, but no, I'm not like that. Besides, my family wouldn't accept it either, and my Christian family wouldn't accept the idea of me getting divorced.
And yes, it's just that on her family's side, there weren't many problems because she was the one who was going to make her own decision.
Of course, besides, at first, my parents, I don't think they cared at all. They thought it was just an online relationship, and that's it. But over time, well, they started to see that it was actually real. Weren't we gonna meet at some point? My parents, like I told you, at first they didn't care. But when he sent me a package from India with gifts, he sent me this notebook. When we reached 10 months together, this is my photo, whether you think I look like it or not. And here there's a really beautiful phrase that Curtis sent me. He sent shoes for my dad, sheets for my mom, several things actually, gifts. My parents were already surprised that there might be genuine interest. Then a few months went by and I got my passport. And at that point, they got worried. They thought maybe my daughter is going to leave. They were scared, like any father, any mother whose daughter is going to go somewhere alone. And I don't know Hindi, I don't know Hindi. And back then, I hardly knew anything. I mean, I didn't know much English, I knew very little. And then, well, they started talking to me, questioning me about the news they saw, saying, look, that Hindi guy killed him, or are they going to sell you? Really? They've told me so many things, even really absurd ones. They even confused him with being Arab, with being Pakistani, but no, I mean, he's Hindi. He's not Hindu, but he's Hindi, yes, and that's how it was. But I ignored the gossip, the negative comments, and I believed in what I felt. I believed in him, and that's how things worked out. Another problem was also the money, because we had planned that he would be the one to come to Peru first to meet my family. So my parents would feel more at ease since they were already worried too. But a little problem happened.
A problem happened here in India, demonetization, and that's why they banned those bills they used before, and it was complicated for the Indians. We moved up the date to be together and I finished my degree. That's why I was going to do my internship and work. That's why I told him that we're going to save money from working and then we'll see if you come or I go.
Which one exactly? I got another job. I left the one at Machu Picchu because I didn't have time for anything. It was very exhausting, so I got a job in Lima. I went back to Lima and we started working to save money so I could come here to India. So he booked the tickets.
Yes, in September 2017 finally. I booked a ticket for her to come in February 2018 and I booked my ticket for February 9th because I wanted her by my side. Before Valentine's Day, we wanted to spend it together.
Yes, well, then that day, February 9th, 2018 arrived. I was excited. I think I couldn't sleep the night before. A week before, I had already bought the things I wanted to bring here, and the night before, I had packed my suitcase. Everything was ready. My dad took me to the airport. I said goodbye to my mom, my dad, and my brother, and I was left alone at the airport, waiting for the counter to open. Yes, my airline was supposed to do check-in at 7 p.m., but my counter wasn't opening. I asked and asked everywhere, and nobody seemed to be worried about that flight. I think I was the only one. So a lady came up to me and said, "Are you waiting for a flight to Madrid?" Because I had to make my layover. And then nobody gave us an answer. We went to the information desk to ask for, well, not a solution, but an answer. She told us they didn't know anything. She just gave us the airline's number. We called this airline Loose Ultra. I really don't recommend them at all because they told us your flight is tomorrow. And I was like, what? What do you mean tomorrow? I'm supposed to be in Madrid tomorrow because tomorrow I have to board my flight to Delhi and tomorrow I can't travel from Lima to Madrid. Yes, she told me, "I'm sorry, but we notified you in advance." And I was like, "What advance notice? You didn't tell me anything." Yes.
They never ever told me about that because I booked your ticket and they never told me that they had moved it up.
Exactly. I got upset, I hung up on the girl, and then I called him and said, "But why didn't you tell me this?" I was upset with him because I thought it was his fault. He hadn't told me or noticed the dates had changed. Then I called that airline again and they rescheduled my flight for the next day. But by then, I didn't even know if I was going to travel or not. I was already completely sad. The lady who was with me also told me, well, tomorrow, because her flight, she was going to Madrid. And that was it, but not me. I had pretty much already missed my flight from Madrid to Delhi. I didn't know what to do. I started crying in the middle of the airport because I was sad. I had 2 huge suitcases with me, and I didn't know if I should go back home alone. I was embarrassed because my parents were going to say, "See, maybe this isn't for you." And I even started to think myself that, no, this isn't for me. I think this is where it ends, and I started to feel discouraged. I called my dad after spending about 3 hours at the airport for no real reason since I had nothing to do. I called my dad and I said, "You know what, Dad, I'm here, come pick me up." My dad didn't ask me anything, knowing I was sad. And he read it, picked me up, and I went home. I remember that we talked and basically worked out a few things because he was encouraging me to keep going since I already wanted to give up.
I told her that we shouldn't get discouraged, we're going to start from scratch and we have to be together, let's say to be together. If not this month, then next month. And from here to there, I had saved money from here to there. We restarted everything, applied for the visa again, and booked hotels or got travel insurance and booked a ticket for March 19th.
And after talking to her, I felt calmer, that's why, with the hope that my trip would be soon. I didn't take anything out of my suitcase. I left it pretty much as it was because I said to myself, I'm going to travel soon, so I don't need to take anything out of the suitcase. I left it there as it was. And we pretty much did all the paperwork, we did everything again, and the day finally came. But for that, I felt like it was bad luck to have told so many people that I considered friends. Yes, I'm going to travel to Picha and all that, but I considered it bad luck, so I said, let's just do this quietly. And I think it's better to do things for yourself or not tell anyone. Because there are people who don't wish you well, they only wish you harm. And we didn't even tell our parents.
Yeah, my family didn't know either.
I didn't tell my parents until the day before. I told them, tomorrow I'm going to India. They said, what? Is that really needed? Yes, it was true. The next day, well, I was scared because I was already traumatized, I think, from having been left like that at the airport, sad and with nothing. And my dad took me again, but I was kind of annoyed. I don't know, he left me there, then he left again. I waited, and this time my airline window did open. I was calmer. I checked in, then I did the rest of the things you have to do to board the plane. And I got on the plane. And I said, no one is taking me out of here now. Now I'm really going to India. And that's it. I arrived in Madrid. In Madrid, I called him. I called my family. My dad was calmer. He told me to let him know when I arrived in India, and that's how I took my other plane in Madrid. I was practically lost. I didn't know. It was the first time I traveled abroad. I didn't know what to do. I don't know how, but I managed to get on my other plane because I had to take a train, then get on a bus, and then finally board my plane. I arrived in Delhi, and when I was landing, I felt an emotion. I don't know, because it was my dream since I was a child to visit India because I really like Bollywood. That's it. And when the plane was landing, I felt a lump in my throat. I wanted to cry from the excitement. I thought I would feel that when I saw it, but I didn't feel it before when I was already arriving in India. So I arrived, went through immigration, and then I left the airport. Before that, I regret it because it was the first time I was going to see him in person. I came out excited, expecting him to be waiting for me with roses.
It was the complete opposite.
Because I came out. There was no one, well, there were people, but people waiting for someone else. There was no one waiting for me, and I said, "Where is he? Where is he?" I got scared for a moment because I thought, well, I didn't remember everything my dad used to say and tell me. Sometimes things that made me laugh. But at that moment, I thought it was true. Didn't Kapash just tell me? He's an old man who's been writing like that and using a young man. Why did I talk to you? Or maybe they're those organ traffickers.
And
Many other things, but yes, at that scary moment because there was no one around. I didn't speak Hindi, and back then I didn't know much English, almost no English, and I didn't know what to do.
what happened is that I had just gotten another job and they didn't allow me to take time off. That's why I left my job. I asked for permission, but I was late getting there. And she called me from a borrowed cell phone and I told her, "Yes, love, I'm on my way and I'm coming." And I couldn't do anything. I wanted to do a lot of things. I wanted to give her a welcome, but I couldn't do it because of my job.
Yes, I know he would have liked to give me a nice welcome, but I also understood the situation at that moment. All I wanted was to call him, but obviously with my cell phone from Peru I couldn't. And I remember that I had forgotten to exchange my money, from dollars to rupees. And I said, when I left the airport, I'm going to call him. And of course, I had nothing, no way. How do I call him now? And I had no choice but to swallow my pride and ask a guy who was there on the street to lend me his cell phone. So I told him, please help me call. The guy realized I was a foreigner and didn't know English, and he gave me his cell phone. I called him and said, where are you? I'm here waiting. And he said, yes, love, yes, I'm in a taxi, wait for me. And well, I had no other choice. I felt calmer after he answered me. I felt calm because I knew he was on his way. I sat down to wait for him, and when he arrived, I saw him. Wow, he was really tall. The first thing I said was, oh my love. I hugged him, he hugged me back, and
He looks at me. He says, "Your voice is strange."
yes, it's just that over the phone the voice is different. I heard it.
I felt the difference.
Yes, after we greeted each other, we hugged and all that. Well, I wanted to give him a kiss. And as many of you know, in India it's forbidden to show affection and things like that. And I said, a little kiss. And he looked both ways and got embarrassed. And in the end, he gave me a small kiss. And then we got in the taxi and went to our house. And I looked at him because it was surprising. After a year and 8 months of a long-distance relationship, well, I met him for the first time. I was excited. I was a little nervous at first, but then I felt like I had known him my whole life. Yes, I felt very comfortable telling him how I felt. If I was hungry, if I wanted something, I felt very comfortable. And so we went to our house. We dropped off my suitcases. I didn't want to rest and I didn't want to sleep. I wanted to go out and explore. We went to a restaurant that day to eat deli. I didn't know much about Indian food until then. I didn't know it was spicy or super seasoned, so what I was craving was a thali. A thali. They're those big platters that have a little bit of everything, and I thought it looked really delicious, so I ordered that. One for me and one for him. Big mistake because it's huge. It's very complicated. If you're going to India and want to try a thali, order one to share. Don't order one for each person.
Yeah, they didn't allow sharing. Very clever. Well,
the thing is, that place was nice, a beautiful restaurant. I remember they washed my hands there and everything. It was a different experience. And when I tasted the food, it was really strange. It had so many spices. It was way too spicy. It was a total shock, really. In the end, I think I left the thali almost untouched. I didn't eat anything, and then we just went home, to our home. We started to get to know each other, to talk more, to share more things. And I think that's how our everyday life began.
yes, that's how it started, and we're going to tell you all the details, and I hope you enjoy this video. This is our first video, and my first video, so I hope you like it.
Yes, we hope you like it. Well, it's not every detail, just the most important things we wanted to share with you. And well, if you have any suggestions or ideas for the next video, you can leave them in the comments, like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, please.
Please.
Yes, I'll take care.
Well, that's all. Bye. Bye.